Welcome to Baycats Banter, the official podcast of the Barrie Baycats. Sam Aucoin with you alongside Julius Hern for episode 2 of season 3. We're also joined by Baycats catcher Hayden Jaco. I'll start with you, Julius. How's it going?
I'm doing good, man. I'm really happy to be on. This is episode 2. I'm hoping I can get back on here as much as I can throughout the season.
Yeah, great to have you on to help bring on these special guests. Speaking of them, we welcome Hayden Jaco, Baycats catcher, recently re-signed for the 2024 season. Hayden, how's it going?
I'm doing well. I'm finally getting back into training here for the 2024 season that'll be upcoming.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of last season, you guys had a great run all the way to the finals, maximum amount of home games. And just wanted to know what was your favorite moment from the 2023 season?
My favorite, like an individual moment from the entire season. Uh there was a lot of good moments. I would say one of my personal favorites was one of the comebacks we had against Toronto there. I think that really solidified us as a team and just like proved to ourselves and within our group that we were a good team and we could do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've brought this up a number of times throughout the season. I don't know how many comebacks you guys had against Toronto, not only in Barrie, but in Toronto, Christie Pitts. I think you guys had like 17 or 18 runs in like the seventh inning or later at Dominico Field, but it was just something crazy.
Yeah,
But
that's not a knock against them. It's I think there was multiple teams that we had some comebacks against. So it was interesting to just have that luck against them, I guess you could say. But it just proved that we never quit, and that's kind of what brought me back for the 24 season is being the group of guys that I'm surrounded by. I want to leave it all out there for them.
Like brings us to a good point. You just re-signed a couple weeks ago. What was in your mind the biggest factor to bring you back to Barrie?
Unfinished business, baby. Unfinished business. I mean, at the end of the day, we were one pitch away from going up 3-1 in the final series, and that's a lot tougher deficit to come back from than that 2-2 with momentum shifted on their side. So not saying that the outcome would have been different, but it would have been a little bit more in our favor there.
yeah, I mean, I think this episode might be titled "Unfinished Business." I mean, it should be a great 2024 season. Me and Julius are certainly excited to cover it. Part of our Baycats TV coverage next year, as always. So I want to know who's the funniest player on the team. This team's got some characters. I want to know from a guy who is one himself. You're a pretty funny guy, so maybe you'll have a good opinion on this.
There's everybody in the clubhouse will make you laugh at some point in time for sure. Uh, Dominic Morea was definitely a great clubhouse guy. He cracked me up a fair bit. Rio, another guy who cracks up, cracks his jokes a fair bit. But we all have our own unique sense of humor, and some guy that you might anticipate is a little bit quiet will jump in with a one liner that'll just leave you on the floor. So everybody's kind of got their own sense of humor, but I think I'm gonna rank Dominic Morea and Rio up there in the 1 and 2 slot.
If there was one moment in a clubhouse from this past season that if you're give us a story about, what is it?
I would say going into playoffs. I can't remember what round it was. It was either the first round or going into the championship series there. Rio decided that he wanted to barrel over a water cooler and kind of flooded one of the corners of our locker room for really no good reason.
Wow. Well, yeah, I mean, we've heard some stories, but also you guys were also given a little bit of a pep talk from Rio. What was that about? I
I
think
think
that was
that's when the
before
water
game
cooler
three,
went.
wasn't it?
I think that went that's when the water cooler went
Oh,
silent.
okay.
No, it's all in good spirits, right? He's just trying to get the boys hyped up and make sure that we understand the magnitude of the game because some guys do, some guys don't. Some guys have been around the block more than others, and they're able to get themselves out of bed. But some guys definitely do need a little bit of a fire lit. So everybody responds differently, and pressure makes diamonds, right?
I want to ask you about something you were dealing with throughout the season. You came into the year with pretty brutal knee injury. What was your mindset going into the season, kind of dealing with that, and how was that faring for you throughout as the year went on?
Well, yeah, the knee was definitely a bit of a bummer to start the season. And additionally, I had taken the entire 22 season sideline. So it was definitely a little bit of a mental hurdle for me to come back into playing after taking an entire calendar year off, having a surgery. What was it? Probably a month and a half before, no, less than that, a month before season started. So, by the time game one rolled around, I've been sidelined for 12 months, 4 weeks post-op. So definitely a little bit of more of a challenge than I would have anticipated. And it definitely took me longer than I would have liked to get going. But I think towards the back half of the regular season there, I was putting up some pretty good numbers.
Well, you guys definitely had a great stretch in the season and also a great run into the playoffs. How about I asked Josh Matlow about this in episode 1. What was that comeback? It wasn't a big comeback compared to some of your comebacks against in the regular season, but you guys had a comeback in the late innings. I think it was 4-2 in the 8th inning against Kitchener, and the crowd. It also helped that Josh got ejected and he started getting everybody pumped up. How was that like when you guys rallied back in that game?
Trying to even think back to it. I'm so bad with this, especially when it comes to the playoffs. We played so much baseball so quick. What did we play, like how many games and how many days? It felt like every day was a new ball game or a road trip. But I'm trying to think back to that specific moment when Matlow got ejected. Do you remember the call? What was the call on that? Like
So the plays that led up to it, it was Liam Wilson apparently got hit by a pitch and he didn't like it.
Oh
He
yeah,
thought
right.
he didn't get hit and he wanted to bat because the bases were loaded at that point, and that's one of Kitchener's best hitters. And then there was another call, and then I think it was Raul Gonzalez or somebody
Got
after
hit
him.
again. He got hit.
He got hit as well, and we didn't like that call. Josh didn't like that call,
Yeah,
and that's
me.
what brought him out.
Yeah, the call was like Josh was arguing that Gonzalez leaned into it because the bases were loaded and that scored a run.
I think we just, yes, I remember that series of events. And then I think that just Matt Logan getting ejected there fired up the boys in some regards. And I think coming in the bottom of the 8th inning there, we knew we had 6 outs left, and we just kind of looked at each other and pulled together like we had been doing all season and said, like, hey, do we want to take control of this series, or do we want to, be going back to their place? Well, we would have been split 1-1 at the time, right? Because they had home field. So we wanted to take control, and we just rallied along, and everybody just kind of passed the stick to the next guy, and I guess luck was in our favor there again.
Do you think that there was a big factor for your team throughout the season that was the biggest push for you guys in late inning, especially when you're down in a game, like you mentioned the games against Toronto earlier this season where you had to come back in late innings? Do you think there was one factor for you guys that kind of got you over the hump in those games?
I think it was just like we were a talented group. We were a group with also a ton of experience, and you just kind of have to realize that whether it's the first out of the ball game or the 27th out of the ball game, they're all the same, right? It's one guy can get out here, one guy can get out there, but so you just kind of take each inning as independent, and sometimes you'll get a team that thinks they have a cushion or something like that, and that's when you kind of step on them. So just the experience in the clubhouse and understanding, like there's no need to press, no need to feel pressure and put pressure on yourself. Just take in each inning independently and each at bat independently and go from there.
Speaking about the team from last year, a couple of the key guys are returning this year, yourself included. But how was getting Frank Garces back?
No, I've been loving the signing so far. Matlow does a great job, reaching out to players and making sure that they're content with how things are going. So he's done a very good job of just managing us as both a head coach and an on-field manager, or I should say president and on-field manager there. So he's done a great job. And I think that's the reason why, a bunch of us are eager to sign early, and a lot of the core guys are chomping at the bit to come back. So it's great to see, Garces, Rio, Odd, Hilly, myself, Souls. I just saw, probably forgetting 3-4 guys here, but it's definitely that's just a tribute to Matlow and the behind the scenes team there on what they do.
Do you think the other guys that are coming back have the same mindset as you with the unfinished business?
Oh, 100%. Like, obviously Barrie had gone on the run before we had their gap year with COVID, and we're trying to get back to that slowly but surely. Like, London had their 2 titles there, and we were almost right there to getting back to that winning tradition. Just fell up a little short, 1 pitch potentially short. So I think that's the goal in the clubhouse, is bring that winning tradition back up the 400.
Awesome. Well, it starts next year, so I'd like to get some of your expectations. I know you guys want to win a ring, but any other goals for yourself?
No, I mean, I never like to set personal goals when it comes to things, or when it comes to baseball. Like, I'm not going to put the pressure on myself saying, oh, I got to put up these numbers or this, that, the other thing. For me, it's about enjoying it with the guys, like being around the guys, getting to hang out at the ball field, playing a game that we love, and continue to play at a high level even into our older years here. So no, I'm definitely thankful to the IBL for that. Once I stopped playing college ball, I thought I would never play in front of a crowd again, but here we are. So the community up in Barrie is great, and as long as the wheels are turning and not falling off, I think I'll continue to suit up there.
Well, you just mentioned your college days, and I know I've asked you a ton about this during the regular season, but you're from BC. What was the biggest draw for you? You went to Indiana State at first. What was your biggest draw to get down to the States, especially in Indiana, to play college ball?
Well, I went to a junior college in Texas first, right out of high school. So the draw down there was obviously just, you hear the stories of how competitive JUCO ball is, either in the Midwest or down in Texas. And basically, ever since I was 12, 13 years old, I had in my mind, like, okay, I'm going to go down to the States and play college ball. So once I got to 18 years old and started getting scouted, whether that was through certain tournaments down in Arizona or certain tournaments down in Florida, whatever that may have been, it just kind of process. I kind of don't remember it now, but it seemed very seamless to me and very natural. So that was a huge plus. And then, I went and played up in Indiana State there. So for me, it was really just, I'd already made up in my mind, like, I was going to be leaving home at 18 to go play baseball. So when the time came, it wasn't like a huge shock factor.
What's a day in the life of Hayden Jaco? How do you prepare yourself for what you do and how you perform on the field?
All right. Right now, it's a lot of weightlifting. I don't know if you guys have mentioned it much on the broadcast, but outside of baseball, I do competitive CrossFit. So I have an upcoming competition down in Miami in January. So I'll be heading down there for that. So right now, days of my life are just a lot of training, weight training, cardio training. So right now I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning in the gym, 5:45, 6 o'clock till about 7:30ish. Then I come home, start my work day. We all love to say the IBL is a working man's league. So I work my 8 to 4, and then I'll be back in the gym 4:30 to 7 p.m. And it's come home and wrestle my dog a little bit, take him out for a walk, and shut her down for the next day.
What's the kind of format like for your CrossFit competitions, and what's the different variety of weightlifting and strength conditioning that you're doing?
Well, I guess that's the beauty and the curse to CrossFit is we have to train for everything because we don't know what's coming our way. It could be anything from a 1 rep max deadlift to a 10K run to 100 pull-ups for time. We really don't know until the day that we show up. So it's a pretty interesting sport, and I was happy I found it after competitive baseball, and now I'm trying to marry the two together, which can be a little bit challenging at times, especially in the season. There's a few days I had to miss for local comps, but I feel like I've done a pretty good job with it, and the competitions are usually 2-3 days long, 3 to 4 workouts in a day type of deal.
What event do you think you're best in? What best suits Hayden Jaco?
I'm not really a home run hitter. Like on the field, I'm not much of a home run hitter. I'm kind of just a snake in the grass, and I'll finish, at a lot of local comps I've done, I'll finish second, third, and I'll just kind of be that I'll just be a little gritty guy who sits at the top of the leaderboard when it's all said and done. So I'll finish a lot of second, thirds, but do love a heavier barbell, something in that mid range weight. I'm not a 1 rep max kind of guy, but you give me something around that 200-pound mark and mix that with another pull up or something like that, and I tend to fare pretty well. Or a machine. Give me a rowing machine or a bike machine, and I lean that 210-pound frame into it.
Awesome. Well, I mean that concludes all of my questions for Hayden. Julius, you got any more?
I think I'm good for now. But I'm really excited to get the band back together. Pretty much, I think it looks like pretty much everyone's back together next year. So yeah, I'm really happy to see that, and I'm excited to cover you guys.
No, there's a great core of guys coming back, and I know some of us are chomping at the bit already, and we're trying to get out for some winter training. So we're excited to be back.
Should be an awesome season. Thank you so much, Hayden, for joining us.
Thank you,
For
guys.
Sam Aucoin, that's Julius Hern and Hayden Jaco. We'll see you
Thank
next
you, guys.
time on Baycats Banter.
Yes, sir.